أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So we are now at the background where the story of Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam, who during his time had some magic and sorcery in vogue. People were practicing that a lot. And there has been some misrepresentation and wrong attribution to Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam about being involved in magic now. And that's obviously despite biblical injunction that it is haram, rather it is kufr to get involved in sorcery of any sort. In Islam, likewise in our Sharia, it is a major sin to get involved in magic. They knew it, and yet they still attribute Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam onto this wrong action of magic. And na'udhu billah, he's completely free from that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now clarifying that situation. So in the time of Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam, the black magic and the magic as a whole was quite rampant. People were so much involved, and it was very popular. And people would just, especially in Babylon area, which is modern day Iraq, plus many cities and countries around it. It's a big area of Babylon, Babil, call it in Arabic. They have seen those manifestations of magic. You do certain thing and you get something out of it. So they found it very, very fanciful. And they would work on that, and they would get confused. Many prophets came, Musa alayhi salam before Sulaiman alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, many prophets in between, and all of them had some sort of miracles. And they said, see, it's like miracle. Whereas the prophets could do the miracles, now even we can learn and perform certain acts which are done without the cause seen or known. And they couldn't distinguish between the mu'jiza, the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the hand of a prophet. So the aqidah has to be very clear on this. There's the work which is done at the hand of a prophet by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is called mu'jiza. And the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala done at the hand of other than prophet, karama. They both translated as a miracle in English, but there's a big difference. When it's with prophet, this is absolute. This is the matter of haqq and batil.
What time are they going to finish?
Rejecting it would be kufr. Have to accept it. It is by default a mu'jiza. When it happens through a pious person other than prophet, could be prophet, sahaba, whoever does it, they apparently do that, but that's Allah's action again. So it doesn't matter. That is why, in its essence, there's no problem. Who is doing it? Allah. Can Allah do it? Yes. So no problem. And that is where many people get confused. They say, oh, how could that be? How could he do that? How could Umar do such and such a thing? How could so and so does it? He's more pious than him. Why could he not do it? And he? It's nothing to do with that. It is to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even sometimes, even not very pious, the most pious person in the community could do certain action. Apparently, Allah made it manifest at his hand. So who is the actor, who is the actual doer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why there's no question about its verification or its validity. So that's part of Aqeedah, Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. How we find that we believe in the karama of the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So remember that. The difference though would be a wali's karama is not absolute in that sense that you do not have to believe it to be. If you know it and you've seen it, then you have no choice but to accept it as a karama. When you heard it, you might say, I don't know the verification of that. I'm not sure whether I can verify that or not, so I stay quiet. We don't reject it outright. Certain action, for example, especially when you find someone who could do a big task at a very short time interval. So, for example, Shah Ismail Bukhari, rahmatullah, and certain other people, they could do the whole recitation of Quran in a very short while, in few hours.
ये देख whole recitation of Quran
Stretching the
in
time
few
for
hours.
them, holding
They
it
got karama.
as Allah did for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a split second. Everything would stand still. He went to Aqsa, led people in prayer, prophets and angels, from there all the way to heaven, met different prophets at different stages, different levels, met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, going back and forth few times, observing Jannah, Jahannam, asking about all the different things happening in Jahannam, be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then coming back. And what happened? According to certain narration, the bed was still warm. How long does it take to get unwarm if you move away from the bed? Literally less than a minute. Maybe in Arabian hot weather, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. According to some narration, the door handle was still moving. It moves for a few seconds and it stops. That may be not the most authentic narration, but doesn't matter. What it suggests, it was just everything came to a standstill to us because he was out of the time zone. Time and space had no meaning for him. He was above that. Time is to do with the earth revolving around sun. When you're outside of the earth, then where is time?
Yeah.
As long as we know that this is proven, then you have to believe it.
No, ये reference
Because who is the doer? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But anyway, so they got confused with the magic and the sleights of hand, the mesmerism, all those actions they could see, and they attributed these
How you know it?
as they are the Prophet's miracle. This is perfectly fine. So they became so ignorant. And on top of that, with their confusion, they made the magic on its own be the effective thing, the most important effector. Remember, that's another aqidah.
You're right.
Whatever happens, whatever action we manage to get,
150.
we do not consider any of that to be the ultimate effector. Effector means the mu'athir, the one that brings about the change.
Yeah, I know.
I took 2 paracetamol for my cough or for my
Aja
runny nose, and I felt a lot better.
Okay.
That's not the effector. If I believe that it was paracetamol, I can say it, paracetamol cured me, meaning Allah cured me through paracetamol. But if I consider, no, there's nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's pure science. It's just the medicine itself did it because it went down there, stopped all the receptors of, pyrexia centers in the body, all the different IL-1 and 2s and whatever cause the temperature in the body was stopped by this tablet. That's how it worked. And you did not have any temperature, that's why you feel better.
I was actually
Nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa
if
ta'ala.
you
Then
are
it's
cheaper and better quality
cannot
and more.
say it.
बस चुप होके सुन बात कर एक मिनट चुप
System of
चुप
Islam.
सुन चुप करके
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the effect of everything, every action. No food, nothing.
ये अकीदा के
So they
सवालात
actually
हैं
believe that these miracles, these
आते
magic,
हैं हमें
whatever action they could do was very much prevalent.
That 8:45.
हाँ
It's on its own
No.
and effective. So that's another problem.
चुप हो जाता
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was Allah planned to teach them. And then they would start believing in those magicians to be the pious people like the prophets. Anyone who could do that. And to be honest, even today you will see that. People performing certain action, which is where the cause is not seen or identified by individuals. That's what magic is. Magic, miracle, all of these are supernatural things. We cannot see
the magic
the
miracle
actual
and
cause, and we see the effect. When you can't see the cause, it is wow, it's amazing. It's what we call خرق العادة. خرق العادة, خوارق. The term sometimes خرق means something. خرق means a rupture, a tear in the cloth. If there's a gap, a gaping wound there, we say, oh, there's a kharq there. It's kharq. So khariq, something which would just rupture that natural cause and effect bond. So we haven't got that there. It's a adat or ada, the habit, the habitual thing that happens. I move my hand, and that's how I could push this away. I'm doing this and it's going there. If I'm sitting and it's going there and you're not seeing it, that's ada. You've not seen my hand doing it, but it's happening. And it's moving, you'll be like, oh my goodness. Start demonstrating some of that magic. The, whether it is to mesmerize you, hypnotize you, make you feel that way, create some illusions, or whether I did it and I did it like the way you couldn't see it, for whatever reason, I distracted you. I covered your eyes for whatever reason. The magicians do that. Sometimes they have got control over devils, shayateen. So I am asking in my own turn to share. Okay, I'll put my hand here, you could see it, and other hand here, move. It would move in a minute. And that shaitan comes and he moves it and he says, wow, amazing. So that's another way. So this is how magicians would work. Normally, one of those two things. So people would just consider that to be as good as a miracle. Whereas miracle is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing it at the hand of the Prophet mainly, or the pious people who would be karama, and yet they would equate the two. In the first instance, there's nothing happening. There is a cause, but we can't see it. In the second thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does it with his kun, however he wants to do it. He doesn't need any agency to get that effect. Is that clear? I was thinking of having a detailed discussion on magic because something people normally fancy a lot. But I just saw there was about 25 slides just on that. I just had to delete it just before coming here. So what I thought maybe separately, if next week or whenever, a separate discussion on magic on its own, just to so people know where they're going wrong, especially with the current practice in our society back home, especially in the park culture. There's a lot of activities going on. People just get affected by that and spoil their life. So inshallah, we cover that at some point. Anyway, so there was with that situation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to make sure that this is eradicated. Allah wanted to make it very clear. So Allah sent down two angels, Harut and Marut were their names. They were sent down in order to teach these people the correct understanding of Sharia and making sure that they understand it. Now, as the angels came down, Harut and Marut in human form, they displayed their ability to perform those actions of miracles. What they had, the local people, they said, "O Sulaiman alayhi salam, O the Prophet, you do not know what magic is. You can say whatever you want to say. But how do you know what is magic? Since this is not your area, you want to know. We know better. Since you don't know it, you can say whatever. So your rule will apply. You haven't got knowledge of this subject. So Allah sent down these. So that was another reason in order to make sure. And likewise, there could be a question why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make Sulaiman alayhi salam perform all that and then train them and whatever. But that would be a problem problem in a sense that although it is permissible to use a bad thing to teach the good thing. Like for example, in order for a scholar to teach people all the arguments against the atheism, it is not just permissible, rather recommended that they should read all the arguments of atheism. For them to understand and know about atheistic ideas, it's not going to be problematic. So they are actually reading something which is haram and wrong in order to counter that. So likewise for prophets, it was perfectly fine if they learn that magic to prove that they now know it, and then to refute it and prove that this shouldn't be done, or at least teach them about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want the prophets who are considered to be the infallible, and they are. in all Islamic teaching, in all the monotheistic teaching, infallible. Prophets are infallible. Infallible means that they cannot make mistakes. They are not supposed to. They are immune from making sins. They can misjudge. They can have, at human level, very basic. Out of the two best, maybe they are literally very few millimeter apart from each other. Which one is the best out of the two? They may misjudge that. That's it, at human level. But generally, they would never ever commit sins. Prophets are immune from that. So that is why it was not befitting for a prophet to do a magic, even if it is to teach them. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that was the wisdom behind it. So these two specific ones, Harut and Marut, and they came down and they started teaching them after disclosing and displaying their ability, after proving that they're angels, and they knew and they believed that. And then they showed them all the magic and they realized, oh wow, these are master of the subject. And then they started. So when they showed all those magic and magical actions, the local people started believing them, and then they said, can we learn from you this magic? And our intention is so that we do not get confused. It's so rampant, so we know what is right and what is wrong. So we would learn it from you, and we would try to, not get fooled by those people who are doing magic. These angels say that if that is what your intention is, then it's okay to learn magic. So we can teach you, but we'll teach you with the condition that you only use it for the benefit, not to misguide people, not to create trouble, not to divide between husband and wife, cause split and trouble between husband and wife. None of that, because that's haram. So you would only, so that's yes. So these angels then would teach them, and every time they teach them, they would say, that's a condition. I'm teaching you this, except that you're not going to use it in a negative way, only to benefit you. Yes. But obviously, what would happen? It's only a matter of few days, months, and slowly, you know what? Let's just try. Maybe I get some benefit out. People are naturally inclined to commit wrong things, and they didn't. So you were saying something.
So, I was asking, Suleiman anyways had control over genes and everything, like animals and everything. So the people did not believe that he was he had mu'jiza, that is possible, or
So Mu'jiza they believed. And they said, since you have got Mu'jiza, you're a pious prophet, you have got control over it, that's fine. But we have a counter way of dealing with that. You do it miraculously, but we do through magic. Our people do through magic. It's our way of doing the same thing. So we are same, we are as good as you are. So all those people who could perform magic, they will look at them and say, wow, they're amazing people, they're like prophets, they're the best people. Because they could not see the distinction between the two. So that is why, and in some innocently, some cunningly, obviously, there are always people who will try find faults in the law. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to distinguish between prophets and the magicians. Now prophets are party to that, because there has to be a distinction between magic and miracle. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would rather have an angel or two angels to perform this in order to make it very clear, so they do not get confused. And this is tashri'i and takwini rulings. There, what is tashri'i? Tashri'i is, remember those two types of ruling. There's shar'i ruling. There's the two words going parallel, hand in hand. One is called tashri'i, which is all based on cause and effect. Whatever you do, you reap the benefit or the harm of that. So that's shara. You did this, and that's the consequence. You did this, that's the outcome. But there is takween. Takween is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things without even displaying his cause and effect, rather with kun. And there's certain angels, certain people who work on that realm as well. For them, there's nothing like haram and halal. But that was another reason. So for angels to do it, there's no problem. They are doing from takweeni point of view in order for certain things to manifest. For example, Khidr alayhi salam, when he met Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam in the story, and he slapped a boy and then killed him, for him it was fine. For him to do certain action which Shar'an are not allowed. You cannot damage someone's property, and he did what he was doing. He was damaging a very newly built ship of the people who were about to. That was fine for him, not for Musa alayhi salam. That's why Musa alayhi salam could not stop. And he questioned him. And that was the deal you wouldn't, and he did. The Shar'an, you have to follow a Sharia case. That is why many people get confused even now. Certain pious people, they say, no, 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 but we are going outside of Sharia. Don't apply Sharia to, because we are above that. We are a certain level of sainthood that we have achieved, that we are beyond that. For us, it doesn't matter. I'm sitting here in the Ramadan eating after Dhuhr because I'm spiritually fasting. And I've already prayed in Haram. My body was there and I just did the tawaf and I prayed. And actually prayed with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in this afterlife or wherever that is in Barza. People do say that and do those sort of activities. And many people get, wow, this is how the Babylon, the people of Babel, they had the awe for the people around them. Whoever could do magic said, wow, these are amazing people. Even today, those who could do black magic, those who could perform all sorts of negativity like this, we look up to them. Our people are just so much, oh, you are no one. You haven't got anything. That's the one. This is what happened when someone came to Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi, rahmatullah. He spent time with him. He's Imam. He's like Abu Hanifa of Tazkiyah line, Suluk line. As Imam Abu Hanifa is to Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, like them for the fiqh. So he said that I'm with you for 10 years. Keep coming in and out, trying to learn from you. Spend many, many months with you in your masjid, in your place. Yet I have not seen any miracle that you performed. No karamat. You haven't shown me anything unnatural. So that's why I'm leaving and I'm quite disappointed. I heard a lot about you. So leaving you. I'm a very humble man. I haven't got any such thing. You go, but just give me one answer, quick answer. Have you seen me parting from Sunnah line? Have I deviated at all from the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, committed any sin, anything that doesn't fit within the Sharia boundaries? No, 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 that's you perfect on. Never seen you even missing a small Sunnah of Mustahab action, let alone committing minor sin. You never did come. Impossible. We have not seen in 10 years. You're so perfect on that, the Shari'i side of things. But we're not seeing anything other than that. He said, I can't help you because you are looking for a karamat. Is there any karamat better than not committing any sins to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's the biggest karamat. We're only entitled, we're only obliged, we are only required to fulfill all the requirements of Sharia. Nothing miraculous is being expected. There's no benefit of that. There's no, well, it's a strong word. There is some benefit, but that doesn't make a person more pious. Having miracles doesn't make you more pious. There is a hope that the karamat that happened to an individual is actually a sign of Allah subhanahu, possibly a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supporting you. Possible sign, not absolute. Prophet, that's a different thing. A wali, a pious man, his good deed, his karamat is only a possible, more likely than not, but not absolute, not 100% that this is support from Allah subhanahu. So obviously, karama on its own then has no value except that there's a possibility, inshallah, you're a good person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on your side. That's not absolute though. But Sharia, everyone has to follow. Everyone who is in this world, they're only required to follow Sharia. We're not required to go for all those miraculous things, certain karamats and sleights of the hand. Not at all. It's not permissible to even go there. Many people get fooled by that. Many people just go and ruin their life in that. And Shaitan has misguided many people. Remember, Sharia, that's the way. We are only required to follow Sharia. We are not at all. And you would read, and it is not me saying this. This is for 1400 years, you would not find one sheikh, one imam of spirituality. Not talking about fiqh, aqidah, or tafsir, or hadith imam. No, they would say the same thing, obviously. They are people of Sharia. The people who apparently are seen as people of tariqah, karamat line, like the tasawwuf line, tazkiyah line, suluk line, all of them unanimously would say the same thing. There's no distinction, no difference at all. Yes, you would find many amateur or mutasawwifa, we call them, those who claim to be the Sufi and Salik and the Muzakka and Mujalla people considered to be wali, fake. That's completely wrong. Those who do not follow Sharia, even if they fly in the air, even if they walk on the water, this is not miracle. This is just a delusion, an illusion created for us. Mesmerism, all haram. Nothing is, there's no value, even if they do. Just to be honest, and to make it even more forceful, even if you see someone doing it and they do not follow Sharia, Imam Junaid, Imam, Bustami, you would find Imam Ghazali, anyone, all of them would say this is shaitan. The person who apparently could do all those miracles, he can turn this column into gold just by saying, turn into gold, it becomes gold. Shaitan. If he doesn't follow Sharia. That's the only gold standard. The yardstick is Sharia, nothing else. So keep that in mind. And this is absolute. All the rest is just footnote. You understand that? So without Sharia, there's no such thing at all. It is just Sharia. And then, added benefit. Someone who follows Sharia, and yet, this in Umar radiallahu anhu, he then says, "O ya Sariya, O Sariya, ila al-Jabal." Now he is standing in the masjid in Medina. Sariya, his, what do you call Sipa Salah? Army leader, commander in chief of the army. He is abroad, like in another country, another far away with the enemy, and he got stuck. And he was thinking about what to do. We are not getting anywhere. I need some consultation. And Sayyidina Umar on the pulpit, giving the khutbah of Jum'ah, and he just looked at that and said, Ya Sariya, ila al-Jabal. He looked at that from here, Masjid al-Nabawi, there, said what he wanted to say, hinted to the point, Ya Sari ila al-Jabal, and he heard it, Sariya there. He followed that. So it was all like you could see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it manifested for him. And he said, the voice went straight to the individual. He acted on that. He didn't know where's the mountain? Umar's sound, I could hear. And he's saying, take your back towards the mountain. He said, we started looking for mountain. We didn't know any mountain. We went backward rather than come in front, and we were just having a bit of a fight in front. We started going back till they reached, and they saw, oh yes, a big mountain, like all the rain there. And they stood, and then they started fighting. But they were covered from behind, and they started fighting. They got victorious. When they returned back, people asked, did something strange happen? He said, yes, very strange thing happened. What was that? This is what we heard. Umar told us something, and we acted, and alhamdulillah, we were successful. It's most authentic hadith. There's no doubt about that. Sahih hadith. Not even weak by anyone. Who did it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the karamah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the hand of non-prophet. That is perfectly fine. But that goes with taqwa. The Sharia, following of Sharia, and ittiba of Sharia for Sayyidina Umar has no limit. I mean, this is, other than the prophets, no one can match up to that standard. That is what you get, if Allah wanted to do it. This is definitely a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will support you, but on its own has no value. In fact, even with Sharia following, it is not required, it is not something sought after goal, it has nothing to do with people thinking about it at all. Not at all. So make sure that that's very clear in our mind, inshallah. I would just tell you the story, one funny story, and then we stop here because I think just in the background or the preamble, we've taken a lot of time. But I think that's important to know as Aqidah. There's a fabricated story you would read in some tafasir. I wouldn't point to them, leave that, because alhamdulillah, ulama have then subsequently made it very clear this is the fake story from Israeliyat. So Israeli tradition is a tradition where certain people from the people of book, certain Sahaba, they became Sahaba, they came to Islam, or some people came after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world. So they are Tabi'in. So Ka'b al-Ahbar, for example, Abdullah bin Salam was Sahabi as well. So they accepted Islam and they had some tradition which they would narrate every so often from the previous books. And those narrations, you can take it and you can reject it, but you have to present it across Quran, in front of Quran, in front of Sunnah, in Sharia. If it matches, perfect. If it doesn't, you don't take it. So that is what it was called. These are called Israeliyat, the narrations from Israeli tradition. So that fabricated story was the angels, when they saw human being, and they said some of them were disobedient, said they're very odd. How could they do it? We are better than them. I can show you. This is what we never disobeyed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to test them. This is all fabricated by them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then said, okay, you want to try? You want to go to the world and try and show that you can do? You're looking down upon the men, go and do it. They say, yes, yes, definitely. Allah said, I'm going to put you in a body and you would have similar desires as mankind. Happy to take the test? Oh, yes, no problem. So they came down on the earth and they started having those feelings. And oh, this whole girl, and they were like, wow, this lady was called Zohra. This is the one that they say is the same Venus, the Greek mythology. In that, there's a Venus is a sign of beauty. In Mercury, Venus, all those different names they give to these planets. So the Venus was a lady according to the myth, and she was very, very beautiful. Anyway, so that's in Arabic it's called Zuhra. Zuhra, the planet name Zuhra. Anyway, so they got involved and they said, we want to have some relationship with you. No, you can't do that unless you do idolatry. It's haram, you can't do it. We know it, right? So see, proven wrong. You find they refuse. But they say, okay, fine. If you can't do that, then the other possibility, if you just drink alcohol, that's enough. That's not a problem. And this is how Shaitan would do. Initially, they asked you to commit, the major, can't do that, come down a little bit. Go further down. I don't want to do that. At least I didn't do idolatry, alcohol. I will just repent afterwards. And they said, it can't be as much of a harm. Let's just try that. And they accepted the condition. And when they were drunk, they did all the haram afterwards. Everything which was not supposed to be done, they lost their mind and they committed all the astaghfirullah. And these are the angels, they say Harut and Marut now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took their ability to go back up to the heavens, because they normally do with Ismu A'lam, and they forgot about that and all the funny things. She wanted to learn about this. There's so much crap in that story and it's completely rejected. Na'udhu billah, they don't shy away to concoct stories against prophets, against angels. You feel like subhanallah. That is why the people are cursed when they do mockery of Sharia. They do, they actually cause trouble even in the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the books. But anyway, they were then punished because they committed all that haram, and they are now hiding somewhere. They've been put upside down in some well. So anyway, all of that is fabricated, wrong, crap story. There's nothing to do with that. The reason I mentioned that is because of that when you hear that, if you ever hear that, just reject it straight away. The scholars have rejected it. There's no basis for it, no narration. It's just made up fairy tale, not even fairy tale, it's curse tale. So inshallah, we leave it there. So unfortunately, we don't have time for. We will do that next week, inshallah. Keep that background in mind so I don't have to revise that. If you have any question, you can ask next time. And then we'll go through this passage. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.